Hello, and welcome to Coach Me Coach, the podcast where we get a bunch of coaches together and ask them some questions. I'm David Rackoff, and I am the leader and founder of the Leadership Self-Expression Lab, and I coach other coaches, so this is what I do all the time. Let's meet our coaches. Hi, coaches.
Hi, David.
All right, so they're in the holding pen, and we'll get to them in just a moment. First, I'm going to answer a question that comes from my group, the Leadership Self-Expression Lab. And this is a question that actually came to me in a one-on-one session with a coach. And her question was, how can I be more charismatic when I'm on camera? And charisma is something that I think freaks a lot of people out if they're not like natural performers or if they're introverts. And I think that people are thinking about this the wrong way. All charisma is being excited to talk about what you're talking about. And so that was what was going on with this client who asked me this question. And it wasn't that she is not a charismatic person inherently. It's that she was talking about things that bored her. You know, and she would say like, well, this is necessary information to convey to somebody watching the video. But my feeling is like, it doesn't matter. Like if you're not excited about it, if you can't find some angle to be excited about, something that pisses you off or is like sexy or controversial or something, then there's no way you're going to appear charismatic to the people watching it. So, so just make sure that whenever you're talking about something, you find some angle on it so that you can be really hyped up. It can be positively hyped up or negatively hyped up, but that gets like a, electric surge from you about what you're talking about. And that's how you're going to seem charismatic. All right, so now let's go to our coaches. So I'm with Cara Morales from Powerfully Connected Parenting, Tweens, and Teens. So first of all the niches to choose, that seems like the worst one in the whole world. That seems like...
You know what, David, you're not the first person to say that to me. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, adolescence is hard. Like, even if we think like right now, you think about being a teenager, it's just a hard time of life,
Yeah. Oh my God.
But I think because it's so hard, that's why I'm drawn to it, because I think it's a time of life that, yes, has its challenges, but also a time of life that's really exciting, where you're figuring out who you are, who you want to be, what kind of life you want to live. You're making big decisions. And I think there's just not enough support for parents of teens. And that's why I chose this niche. It's why I started this group, where just really we dive into how do we help parents navigate the big emotions and the friends and the drama and the technology, all that stuff, while trying to keep your sanity and your calm and your cool.
Well, God bless you for doing it. Somebody's doing it. It's not going to be me. So you're doing the Lord's work there. So your group is a free Facebook group called Powerfully Connected Parenting, Tweens, and Teens. And so people can just search for that on Facebook and then join your group. And then you also offer one-on-one coaching, or what else do you offer?
Yes. So I also offer, it's a kind of transformation program that involves both a self-paced course with all of the goodness about parenting tweens and teens, all the issues, all the strategies you need, and then also weekly sessions with me where we really dive in deep to what's going on with your particular tween or teen, what's going on with you as a parent, and how can we make parenting a tween and teen easier, more manageable, more doable.
Cool. That sounds awesome. So PM Cara, if you want to find out more about the program and join her Facebook group. That sounds great. Like I do not have kids, but if I did, that would be the time that I would be like in advance too. I'd be like, okay, my kid's 10. It's about to get rough. Let's start taking care of things before then. Yeah. Okay. All right. So these are questions that have been gathered from Cara's Powerfully Connected Parenting, Tweens, and Teens group from real people, but we're not going to use their names. All right. So the first question is, I struggle with my words when reacting to news that my teen shares with me that I don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah, this is such a great question. The reality is we're humans. Like, yes, we're parents, but we're humans, and we're going to have reactions to things. And when our adolescent says things, they like to push boundaries. They like to challenge the status quo. They are very emotional. And so they're kind of hardwired to say outrageous things sometimes. And so as parents, I think it's super normal to struggle with that, that, oh, I have this gut reaction and do I share that with them or do I not? So a couple things I advise parents is you want to, especially in the teen years, you want to develop a type of poker face where you are able to take in what your adolescent is saying and yes, acknowledge what you're feeling, but not necessarily showcase that right away in the moment. The other big thing I always tell parents is it is a gift when your adolescent shares something with you, because they are also hardwired to just talk to their friends or to go on social media. So when they're sharing something with you, even if you don't like it, you want to acknowledge that that is a gift and say, I always tell parents, first things out of your mouth should be, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me. It really sets the tone for the conversation. Because if you start the conversation with, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that, they're going to stop talking. But if you say thank you first, they're going to keep talking.
That's such a good way to think about it. Because I mean, that's part of my whole teen thing is they're kind of assholes like that, but they're supposed to be. So you can't totally take it personally, but also if any other person you knew there was going to be a 5-year portion of their life where they were just going to be a jerk to you. But it's it's not just they're jerks, but they're also isolating themselves from you. So whenever they're not, that's a good thing. That's such a good way to that's a win. Yeah.
It's a total win. And I think it's easy for us to forget it. So it's important to say, hey, thanks. And then it keeps your kid talking. And that's the ultimate goal. I want to keep my kid talking.
Cool. I love that. That's such a good way to think about it. This is why I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing. All right. So next question from your group is, I have several struggles with my son, lack of communication, potty mouth, academic struggles, disrespect, and not helping around the house. I'm wondering what I have done wrong as a parent. So Cara, what has this person done wrong as a parent?
We could spend hours talking about all those separate issues. They're all very the communication, the potty mouth, all these things, right? And that's where, if you want tips on all that specific stuff, join my group. But this is what I'll say. The line that stuck out to me the most was, what have I done wrong? As humans, we make mistakes all the time. And I think, yes, there are ways that we can do better as parents. And that's what I try to offer to my clients. But at the same time, we need to acknowledge that teens are hardwired to push boundaries and to question the status quo, to turn away from their parents and to turn towards their peers. So a lot of that behavior is actually them trying to individuate and become autonomous, to have a sense of power and control over their lives. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that we are failing. It means more so that they're becoming teens and doing what teens are supposed to do. And it's a powerful reframe when we can say as a parent, it isn't necessarily that I'm failing. It's that my adolescent is doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right. So let me ask you this.
Being said,
what should you, if you're a parent of a teen and they're being totally respectful, not using bad words, not rebelling, not isolating ever, does that mean you're doing something wrong? Or that something is a problem?
That's a great question. I think there are, just personality-wise, temperament-wise, there are people that are just very compliant. And there are certain kids and teens that are just easier to parent than others. So I do think there's a certain spectrum of quote unquote rebellion based on personality. But I also would just question if everything is perfect. I just would question what's under the surface. Is there something that maybe we're missing, or maybe they're doing something in secret? And I'm not saying that to say all teens are bad. I just would be curious what's going on behind closed doors or in the conversations with their friends or on social media that we might not be aware of. Because on some level, at some point in adolescence, they're gonna explore, rebel, and push on boundaries a little bit.
Right. Cool. All right. So next question, and this is a good one, is how do I help my teens self-motivate? How do I encourage them without feeling like I'm nagging?
Yeah.
We need a short version of this because obviously this could be a whole book.
Yeah, it could be a whole book. I would say two things. One, there's a really big difference between extrinsic motivation and intrinsic. Extrinsic is that carrot that we dangle in front of kids to get them to do the thing. Our society runs on that. And at some point, we need to help it become intrinsic, internal, that an adolescent is doing their Spanish homework because they want to get good grades, because that makes them feel good and helps them graduate, right? That they want it. Adolescents have a very short window of future thinking. They really think 24 to 48 hours in advance. They're not thinking 3 months down the road. So I think one is just knowing that. But I think with the nagging piece, as a parent, I would reframe a question to them and saying, you need to do your English homework. When are you going to do it? Say, hey, what's your plan? What's your plan to get your homework done? I love reframing it that way because it puts power and control in the hands of the teen. It puts ownership and responsibility in the hands of the teen, which they crave. They want power and control. And then it takes the burden off me to figure out how they're going to do it or to nag them. So it's a very simple, different way to rephrase the question. Instead of go do your homework, say, hey, what's your plan for your homework?
Cool. I'm just thinking to myself, like that would have made a huge difference. Yeah, absolutely. That's, I wish you could have been my mom. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening to this.
I know.
All right, so now we have our out of your comfort zone question. So this is a question that you have not seen before. It's not in your area of expertise. And I will need a number, and then we can go on. You can explain further, but we need to start with just a number, assuming all things being equal. All right, so here's the question, unrelated to Cara's niche. All right. I've always wanted to bungee jump, but never got around to it. How old is too old to try it? We did an age.
85.
Whoa. So you're saying an 84-year-old, you're cool with an 84-year-old trying bungee jumping. Wow.
I am.
Wow.
I am.
What's your thinking?
My reason is I think that we can really take ownership. I keep using that word, really take ownership of our health. Like, it's kind of amazing how when we are in control of our sleeping patterns, our eating patterns, our activity levels, our bodies can be really healthy and strong very late into life. And so, I mean, I've definitely met 70-year-olds, even 80-year-olds. My grandpa, he has passed away. My grandpa at 80 years old would still go for 25-mile bike rides. Cool. He was a cyclist his whole life, like professional cyclist. Oh, wow. And I remember when he turned 80, he was like, oh, Cara, I'm getting old. I can only do 25 miles now instead of 50. And I was like, okay, grandpa. Yeah. Probably my grandpa is the reason I'm giving you this answer. But I really do think, I think activity levels and all that stuff, energy levels, we can do it. And I think when I think of bungee jumping, I think of a zest for life, an excitement for experience. Yeah. And I think that never goes away, regardless of how old you are.
Cool. I love it. Love it. All right. So just once again, your group is Powerfully Connected Parenting, Tweens and Teens. How do they find you?
On Facebook, you can just search in Powerfully Connected Parenting, Tweens and Teens, and it'll pop up. You can also search my name, Cara Morales. The link is all over my profile page. And I'd love to connect with you, or you can also send me a direct message.
All right, cool. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, Julie, how are you doing today?
Hey, David. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. So you are from the group Kingdom Healing, which is a Facebook group. And tell us a little about Kingdom Healing.
Yeah, so Kingdom Healing was really birthed out of my own family's journey of healing from chronic health issues. And so one thing I'm really passionate about is helping people with chronic illness heal their bodies, and doing that through food, but also really catering to the whole person and helping heal your mind and your spirit as well. So you can really just enjoy life, because it's hard to enjoy life when you're sick all the time, but then also being able to use your life to then serve God the way he's called you to do that. Cool.
Yeah, it's a great group. So check it out. Just search Kingdom Healing on Facebook, and it's a free group. And then also, you're also about to start a membership site. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about the membership site because it's really going to allow you to work on your own healing in all three of those areas at your own pace. but doing that with others who are doing the same, and then we'll be working together to really customize your own healing journey.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I've seen a little bit of behind the scenes glimpses of it, and it looks really cool. Yeah, and like, I mean, you even have stuff about like, okay, if you're going to Red Lobster, what do you do? How do you make that sort of a healthy meal? And yeah, you have all sorts of good stuff. So I'm very excited about the membership site. All right, so we have rounded up some questions from members in your free Facebook group, and let's go through them. All right, so first question is, these are from real people, but we're not going to use their names because, you know, we're not. So what foods heal the heart, brain, liver, lungs, and kidneys?
Yeah, so I really like this question because the answer is really cool. And so just from a general standpoint, if you're looking to eat certain foods to heal certain organs or parts of your body, you really want to eat the foods that look like the part of your body that you want to heal. So for example, yeah. So for example, like grapes, right, can kind of look like lungs. Walnuts, if you've ever opened them, look like your brain, and different things like that. Yeah, carrots for your eyes. So.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like sort of like not a mnemonic because that's with language, but it's like a good way to remember that. Like, what are the little things in your lungs called that look like that? Like
I think the alveoli.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking, but I wasn't totally sure. That sounds right to me. I don't know. All right, cool. That's a good sort of, yeah, wait, like brain stuff. You're right. Walnuts do look like brains. Yeah, that's cool. All right, so another question that we got is, what do I do when I want to cook better for my family's health, but my family is not on board?
Yeah, so I love that question because that is something that myself and my family had to work through because our whole journey was about, I would say, 4 years. And so for the first 2 years, it was me leading the way and my family was not on board. So my daughter had just been born. My husband was chronically ill. I was still kind of sick as well. And so we had a lot of conversations about, you know, hey, like we want to eat healthy. What does that look like? How are we going to do it? So a lot of talking back and forth with that and involving my husband in it as much as possible. And then about halfway through that journey, my husband got really, really sick and went to the doctor. And the doctor was like, I don't know what else to do for you. You know, we've been working on this for 10 years. He's like, try an elimination diet, have at it. So we did. And so at that point, my husband was on board. And so a lot of that then was also involving him of like, you know, what recipes look good to you? You know, how do we want to transition this whole thing? And then with my kiddo too, she was basically raised on the diet that we eat now. But one way I've been able to really get her to be on board with it is just involving her in the meal planning, in the grocery shopping, in the cooking itself. So she knows how everything works and she feels like she's a part of it and she has some control. Doesn't mean meal times are always going to be fun, but you know, just explaining to her, it really helps her to get on board with it. So.
Cool, yeah, and if she helps cook something, like I've had that experience with my nephew, is like, yeah, if he helps cook something or helps pick it out, he's on board. Like, even if it's something that otherwise he would have, you know, if you just showed it to him, but if he's the one who said, I want that funny looking the purple cauliflower, you know, better be sure he's going to be the one at the table who's going to be like, everybody eat this. Yeah. Okay, so this is a question that actually is funny because I have very smart, healthy friends, or I actually don't know what your answer is going to be, but I'm assuming. So anyways, here's the question. I've heard this question come up in my life. Is it considered healthy if you are 100% juicing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my answer is going to be no. I don't know if that's what you were expecting or not.
That's what I was expecting. Yeah, I've had friends. I'm like, wait, what? You're just going to be drinking like weird juice and nothing else? Like that seems like that can't be. Yeah.
Yeah, and so my reason why I would say it's not 100% healthy is because when you're juicing, especially if you're using fruits, which we know can be higher in sugar, it's good sugar, but when you juice all of your food and you make it into this really concentrated liquid, as soon as it goes into your body, because it doesn't need to be digested, it's like immediately absorbed into your bloodstream. And so that can actually cause a really high spike in your insulin and your blood sugar. And that can actually cause your body to crash. And then you're probably going to be hungry pretty soon after. And then another thing is, when you're juicing, you're removing all of the fiber from your fruits and vegetables. And so, you need that for digesting. And it's a really interesting thing about the digestive system is actually your digestion starts in your mouth with like chewing and saliva. And so that's where it starts. And so if you're just drinking everything and your body isn't able to digest it and break it down and release it like normal, that can lead to a lot of health issues, like diabetes or even obesity. So I would not recommend juicing if you're kind of dead set on it. I would, maybe a compromise would be to do some blending. That way you at least keep, the whole fruits and vegetables in there and you're not pulling out the fiber and that kind of thing. But yeah, I would really suggest limiting how much you're juicing and just trying to eat as much whole food as possible.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I was assuming. Also, like, what's the appeal of like, why do you like, like if you like have like some sort of, if you get like in a fight and your jaw has to be wired shut, then you have to just drink everything. But like, why is that something that is appealing to you normally? Like, I don't know, it is. But so your group is Kingdom Healing, so it's not just about food. It's also it's a Christian spirit, mind, the whole Venn diagram of like mind, body, and spirit. So yeah, so I guess the last question that came from your group is, will healing my mind and spirit help reduce my chronic pain?
Yeah, absolutely. I know food has been a huge part of our journey, but the reality is food is not the number one thing that's going to heal you. I really do believe that you need to be working on your body, your mind, and your spiritual health to be as healthy as you can be. And so, like, for instance, I know that there's so much stress going on, like, in the world right now and then in our personal lives. And so, if mentally you're feeling stressed out, and then you're dealing with that stress by maybe emotionally eating, that can lead to then you trying to soothe it with food, but it's not working. And then you're getting, you're gaining weight, or even if from a spiritual aspect with stress, right? If you're trying to control things that are not in your control, if you can, trust God with it, because we know that He's ultimately in control, that's going to bring you a lot of peace, and that's going to help you cope better with the stress. You really want to be going at it at all the angles.
All right, cool. All right, so now we have out of our comfort zone, out of your comfort zone question. And so this is a question that you do not know. It's not your area. It's just a fun question. And we need a yes or no, and then you can explain your answer. But because otherwise everybody just goes like, well, it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. No, you need to commit. All right, so the your out of our comfort zone question, these are so much fun, is, okay, I found my 23-year-old daughter's old fake ID. Should I bring it up with her?
I have so many questions, but I'm just trying to get.
I mean, that's all the information you have. You can't. Yeah, right. Obviously, there are specific. If she was, we wish we knew we had more information. But just based on that, assuming everything is sort of normal, but you just found your 23-year-old daughter, her fake ID, behind a mattress in her old bedroom or something.
I would bring it up. You want me to share why?
Yeah.
I mean, I would just be like, hey, what's this? And be curious about it and just make it fun. And then if it was a serious issue, we take it there. But otherwise, they'd be like, where'd you get this from? Just take it with a curious attitude. Yeah.
Because, it depends. I was going to make it 22, but that's like her 21. I mean, no, 21. But 23, I think, is enough time that's passed that you can be like, like a little more like, got you. Yeah. I agree. Okay. All right. So when does your membership site open its doors?
Yeah. So the grand opening of the Kingdom Healing membership group is going to be June 1st.
Okay, cool. And then in the meantime, what should they do to check you out?
Yeah, so I would encourage you to join the Kingdom Healing free Facebook group, and you can just search that. It'll show up. And if you have any questions or want to get in connected with me directly, you can send me a Facebook message. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Julie.
All right, thank you.
All right, so we have Megan O'Brien, who is an expert in grief counseling and leads the group Embrace Life Again. Hi, Megan.
Hi there.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's a little warm in my apartment today, but yeah. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your group.
My group, Embrace Life Again, is really for people who recently or fairly recently have lost their person to death, and that they're really figuring out how to pick up the pieces, how to hold all of the emotions and be able to still move forward in their grief, in creating, if you will, a new life for themselves.
That sounds heavy. Yeah.
It can be, but there's still a lot of life to live after the death of someone. So people assume that the group is always heavy and dark, and there can be a lot of fun and laughter as well, because we have to have that in order to heal, right?
Cool. Yeah, that's lovely. That's so important. Okay, so this actually sort of ties into our first question that we've gathered from your group. It is, how do I find energy to grieve and still be available to my 11-year-old daughter?
That's such a really good question, because first of all, there's kind of a two-part within that question, which is the main thing is that you want to really be able to do is take care of you, right? And so the main thing that I would teach someone within that is kind of the ABCs, if you would, is to be able to take that moment of acknowledgement. And we really often in our grief don't take that time to acknowledge where we are. And so your 11-year-old daughter is actually looking for you to mirror those neurons to see, how do I react? Is it okay to some days not be sad? What does that look like, right? And so it's really important for, while you're also mirroring that for your daughter, to also take that time out for you as well, right? So we often so forget that. So acknowledgement is really the very first thing that you want to do. The second thing that you really want to do is balance it out, right? Is being able to still allow your kid to be a kid, right? So many times we want it to only be somber and very depressed, and it is heavy in your family. Believe me, I went through it as a kid. My dad died the very first day of my 7th grade, so I get it. But you still want to be able to balance that. You still want your kid to be able to have activities and their soccer, horseback riding, whatever they're doing, so that you're able to balance that out. The third thing that I would suggest, the C, right, of the ABCs, right, would be the compassion, is to, for both of you, is to be for yourself, obviously, to have that self-compassion and giving back to yourself. And I don't mean big things, little things, just a cup of tea on the back porch, right? Just little things. And for your child, just to be able to realize that they need those moments, right? That they need to be able to say when they're hurting as well. So it's all about mirroring, and it's all about really being available for them.
Cool. That's so important. And so you have your free Facebook group, but you also do offer one-on-one coaching. Is that right? Grief coaching?
Yes.
Cool.
Yep, I do.
Cool. Do you enjoy the one-on-one work?
Love it. Absolutely love it.
I always find it so interesting that when somebody specializes in something that most of the people in the world are trying to avoid. So like, it's, God bless you for wanting to, for like having this be your passion. Yeah, I think it's great. And when you need someone to help you with that, it is great to have people out there who are, really excited about it and know what they're doing. Okay, so our last question, and these were gathered from people in your group, right? These are actual people's actual questions.
Mm-hmm.
Our last question is, how will I create a new identity?
Ooh, another hot one. This is a one that I work with all of my clients, because again, the way I look at grief is very relational. So it's not just taking away, for example, like your mother died, she could have been, in fact, your very best friend. And so it's really trying to figure out, again, how you're going to go back and relate to the world. So one of the things is really going back to that original point of acknowledgement, right? Of really acknowledging where you are. And it can fluctuate, right? Grief is not just yep, I'm good, and it's a checklist. So many of us are kind of programmed in life to have it one way, and then it just kind of manifests and look kind of a different way, right? So it's really important to be able to know that it's not going to be a checklist, that we can get re-triggered by old wounds. And so while we're trying to figure out who we are, not in the beginning. So again, early grief is really 6 months and under, right? 6 months and under. And it can even go up to a year to you're working on this kind of new identity. But it's, again, figuring out maybe there's an interest that you had before that you kind of got stored away, and being brave, right? Part of grief healing is being brave to say, I'm going to try that again. I'm going to look at this, and God, I really did like golfing. Maybe I'll try it again. It's kind of scary doing something again on my own. I haven't worked in a while. Maybe I'm going to try and apply for that job. It's taking these little steps. And again, it's taking that very first thing of being able to acknowledge, to say, I am not the same person. My person has the death of my person has completely changed me, but I don't want to stay stuck forever. I still have a lot of life to live. I still am going to carry them forward with me. And so with all of those things and all of those pieces, that really helps people create their new identity. But it does take a really long time.
Yeah, and that's I'm just realizing, I'm like, no, that's why you called your group Embrace Life Again. Like that's that's lovely. Okay, so our last question is not from your group. Our last question you have not seen, and you have to answer yes or no, and then you can explain. But it starts out with a yes or no answer. All right. So
okay.
If I'm hosting a dinner party, do I have to serve dessert?
Oh, I love this. For me, I would definitely
wait, you're
say
giving
yes.
advice. You're giving advice as a coach, as a dessert coach for the moment.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
I would say yes, and then I'm going to give you why.
Yeah.
I would say yes, because it complements a meal so well. When I go to a fabulous dinner, I want to be able to have, when I used to eat dairy, I want to eat my creme brulee. I want to eat the amazing pie with my espresso. I want to be able to just complete a meal. It feels like it ends the experience. It's almost as though you're kind of going to a play, for example, without the standing ovation. I mean, it's something like, I just love the finality of a dessert. That's just me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think even if it's like even if it's just some fruit and whipped cream or something, because also, like, even if nobody wants dessert, it still is like, yeah, it doesn't feel like it's the end. And then, like, the guest isn't going to ask because that would be rude. Like, you're just creating an awkward social situation. Yeah. And although I do feel like if you made dinner and you made a big deal about making dinner, you don't have to make dessert. It's great if you do, but you can also just buy something or, But yeah, I totally agree. No,
there's a lot of stuff you can do, but I think if you're going to invite someone over for dinner, I just think that there's the formality to it. And it can still be a casual formality. I'm not saying that, but for me, I'm 100% team dessert.
Yeah, no, me too. Yeah, totally. All right, great. This is great talking to you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm such an honor to talk about this. It really, I think it's because mostly I didn't have someone there for me. And so I love being able to share this, my group and my knowledge. So thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks. And remind us again how we can find your group on Facebook.
Oh, sure. It's either on my main page, so it's under my name, or you can also just look up my group name, which is Embrace Life Again.
All right, great. So we did it. That's episode 1 of Coach Me Coach. I'm David Rackoff, the founder of the Leadership Self-Expression Lab. Feel free to come and check that out on Facebook. All right, bye audience and bye coaches.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye guys.